today I decided to do something a little different. This was brought up to my attention, and you know what? I think I should address this because I do feel very strongly about this topic that I'm about to talk about, and I was like, you know what? I might as well make a video explaining my position on it, and that is the ending to Usagi Drop, the manga ending, not the anime ending. Anime ending, it ended on an open note to where the story can continue. I'm talking the manga ending, and if you all know what the manga ending is, you know where I'm coming from. And keep in mind that there are going to be spoilers in this video, so if you have not read the ending to Usagi Drop and you don't want to know how it ends, do not watch this video, stay away. But for those of you who want to watch what I have to say, or actually have read the ending to Usagi Drop, welcome my friends. So after I finished watching Usagi Drop, I thought it ended very well, you know, to where it could pick up for a second season and see them grow into a stronger relationship and build a father-daughter bond. And I was really looking forward to that because it's probably one of the strongest father-daughter bonds I've ever seen in an anime. It was so realistic. It had everything going for it. And then all of a sudden everybody started commenting on my video like, oh, stay away from the ending. Don't read the manga. The ending's terrible. Then I did my own research to find out what the ending was, and yeah, I just had a problem with that, and it really irritated me, and I'm going to explain why it did irritate me. And another reason that I'm doing this video is because one of my subscribers by the name of Mexican Chinese sent me an article talking and discussing about the ending to Usagi Drop and taking a more different approach in analyzing it. He took it in a more like positive way and explaining why the outcome happened the way it did, and the article was well written, well handled, well executed, and he brought up some valid points, but that didn't excuse it for the other things in the manga, and I'm gonna get to that. Now, like I mentioned earlier, there are a few things I did agree with in this article, and one of them is actually that this manga is a realistic depiction of life and love, and how you really don't end up with the person that you love, or have a great connection with, or build a strong bond with. Case in point, Daikichi and Natsume do not end up together. No, you know, they built a strong bond. We felt it in the anime, we felt it in the manga, we thought it was gonna go somewhere. But sometimes life doesn't play the way that you want it to play out, and they just didn't end up together because of their insecurity, you know? They also used their kids, you know, Rin and Kyoke, as a way of saying, oh, we can't end up together, because at the same time, Rin and Kyoke were dating each other as well, so it'd be kind of weird for having two families dating each other, and I can understand where they're coming from. It felt kind of sad that they didn't end up together because they had such a great relationship, but also it just highlights a realistic depiction of life, you know? Sometimes the person that you love so much, it's just the wrong place at the wrong time and you can't end up with them. And in that, the manga does a really good job. They also talk about Rin and Kyoke's relationship crumbling down. Now this one is kind of iffy for me because even though that the relationship crumbled down, she's a teenage girl, she could find another guy. I mean, I don't think she would be that emotionally distraught that she would just end up with Daikichi, and this is where the start rolling in. And now to get to some of the things that I did not agree with in this article. And the first and biggest argument I have is that the ending is hypocritical and it destroys everything that the anime has built it up to be, and it damaged the integrity of the anime and manga. I mean, the way the anime highlighted this story was it's these two people building a bond through a father-daughter relationship, and they were doing a fantastic job. You know, it was realistic. You really got connected to these characters. You know, you felt the turmoils that they went through. It felt real. And then all of a sudden, the ending where Daikichi and Rin get married, I mean, say what you must about them explaining that they're not blood relatives, and we're gonna get to that too, but it ruins the anime, it ruins the manga when you built it up to be this one thing and then you just tear it down for the sake of just throwing a romance story in there. And that's what I felt like. They just threw this in because they needed a romance story that wouldn't fail, and since the other ones already failed, well, this is the last resort. Let's go with this one. It doesn't matter how weird it is. It doesn't matter how well we develop the bond between these two. Let's just make them fall in love. And now for my second argument, I actually took a quote from the article, and I would like to read it to you guys, and it goes something like this. Usagi Drop instead wants to fully explore the various subtle nuances that the characters feel about relationship and love, the insecurity, the infatuation, the muddled ideas, and the gray area. And my argument is, well, if that's the case, then why didn't the anime start off like that, you know? And why did it take it until like nearing the end to really switch its whole theme and how the direction of the manga and the story was going? As many of you may or may not know, I hate it when anime start off one way and then they pull a 180 and become something entirely different. And the biggest offender I can think of is Toradora. It started off as a straight up comedy with a little bit of drama thrown into it because you need that. but then it just pulls a 180 and becomes so dramatic and so over the top. It just seems it doesn't have that same charm and essence that the earlier episodes try to amplify. And this is the same thing with Usagi Drop. It started off as this really realistic story of a father-daughter bond between these two characters and how they really grew to get attached to each other and the experience of life that they're going through. And then all of a sudden, it pulls a 180 and becomes a romance story between the two people that were supposed to build a father-daughter bond. And I was like, why? It just seems so unnecessary. If you really wanted to make it about insecurities, muddled ideas, gray areas, then really highlight and hit it in the beginning of your manga or beginning of the anime, or at least earlier in the manga, because I heard that it doesn't even start until like later volumes where it was reaching the end. And that's a problem, because when you set it up to be a certain thing, people expect it to be that certain thing. You can't just pull a 180 and just be like, well, we're gonna do this direction because we want to. My third argument is also a quote that I took straight from the article, and it is, incest is only one of the many plot devices to showcase the rather authentic portrayal of how we approach love. And this one kind of irritated me. Now, keep in mind too that the person who wrote this article said he has a very liberal opinion about, incest and all that stuff. For me, I'm not liberal, nor am I conservative about my opinions of incest. I just don't like it. I just feel like it's wrong, and it's not. Incest just doesn't feel right to me. When you build a bond with someone, you're either going to build it as a family or as a stranger. And mostly when you're with a family member, that love is different from when you love a stranger that's not a part of your family. Different levels of love. Yes, both can be unconditional, and yes, both can be strong, but I think you really need to separate a love of a relative and the love of someone that you just met, and you might actually grow a strong bond and get married to. You'd never know. But the reason I mentioned this quote in the article is because of the use of the word authentic. Now, he used the word authentic to mean a real portrayal, and he used incest in the sense that it's a plot device of a real portrayal of how we deal with love, and that is not true in the slightest. Incest is not authentic because it rarely ever happens in real life. I've never heard of an incestuous relationship in my family or in my friends' circle groups or on TV at all. I mean, back in the 15th centuries or 16th century, where they inbreeded and all that, that made sense. Yeah, that's a common occurrence in their life. But it's the 21st century. That barely and rarely happens now. I mean, there might be one or two cases, but I doubt it's between a father and a father and a daughter, or a son and her mother, or his mother and stuff. It rarely happens, and you probably will never see it in your lifetime. My fourth argument dealt with the whole Rin falling in love with Daikichi because of her emotional instability. Now, in the article, it explains that after Rin broke up with Kyoke, she was in this emotional distraught. She couldn't build a strong emotional connection with other males besides Daikichi, and Daikichi was there, and she in the article explains that she just subconsciously joked about how they should get married and get together, but afterwards she started really thinking about it, and then it started becoming more and more of a possibility in her mind, and she's like, yeah, I really have a strong connection with you, and we should do that. And I felt like that is no excuse to explain why she fell in love with Daikichi. Just because she was in an emotional damaged state does not mean she'll automatically just fall in love with Daikichi. This is something that should have been built up from the beginning if they really wanted to go there. It just felt like it was just forced in because all the other relationships have already failed, and they need to end it to where at least one of the characters had a happy ending where they got married or something. And since Daikichi and Rin were the ones that are always together, it just seemed very convenient that those two would be the ones that end up together. And my last argument for why I don't like the Usagi Drop ending is I felt like the plot convenient fix-up explaining that they are not blood related in a sense was a cop-out. And even though they're not blood related, they still have that father-daughter bond that connects them, that even though they're not blood related, they're still related by that strong father-daughter bond. And I know I keep emphasizing this point throughout this entire video, but I'm just trying to hammer it into you that they have established the fact that they are building a father-daughter bond throughout the anime and throughout the manga until reaching the near end. It's only till the near end that they start pushing it towards a more of a romantic side than a father-daughter bond. And this is where the anime went wrong to me. They could have kept that whole father-daughter bond. It was working, it was good, it was believable, it was strong, it was emotional, you really felt attached. And then when they threw in this romantic plot with them ending up together, it ruined the integrity of the anime. It ruined the integrity of the manga. It ruins everything they built it up to be, and it just becomes less of a great anime than it could have been. So in the end, Usagi Drop is a well-told story, really highlighting the human struggle, whether it be love, denial, heartbreak, abuse, neglection. They really highlight that very well. But the way the story concluded negated and destroyed everything that it built up to be in one fell swoop, and that is why I do not like the Usagi Drop ending. But I know everyone's not going to agree with my opinion, some people might actually like the ending. I mean, the guy who wrote this article, he seemed to have liked the ending. He really fought to defend it, so, there might be people out there like him, or it might be a her. So let me know in the comments, whether you really like the ending, or you agree with all my points and felt like the ending just ruined everything that it built up to be. Comment below, let me know.